Welcome back to the Five. Bob finally gets to have his segment. We've talked before on the show about union and labor disputes, and there was a terrible situation this weekend. Here's what happened. Nurses at an Oakland, California hospital went on strike, which they have every right to do, Eric. And so replacement nurses were brought in. Unfortunately, while they were striking, a cancer patient was given the wrong medicine and died. Now, of course, concerns over patient care in cases of strikes are being brought to the forefront. Before I turn this over to my brother Eric, who will go on and blame unions, the rest of it, let me make a point. Every day in America, fully staffed hospitals lose somebody because of mistakes that are not every hospital, but a lot of people die with the best care in the world because mistakes are made. When you have millions of people, it's going to happen. The idea that somebody would even suggest that this was because of a union strike, they're out of their minds. Okay, go ahead. You try to suggest it now.
In this case, it happened to be because this person wasn't a new patient. It was a patient who had been receiving medication. The nurses went on strike. The replacement nurse went ahead and made a mistake. Yeah, she made a mistake, or he made a mistake, and gave the patient the wrong medicine. They died. This is clearly a case of someone dying because of a union strike.
Oh, come on.
What if the regular nurse, though, had gotten a cold and called in sick because she didn't want to infect other patients? I mean, would you? And then the same thing happened. I don't think you could make the same argument.
Listen, it's not, in hospitals, one nurse doesn't walk in and this nurse is responsible for that one patient. You're sick. I'll step in.
Let me help you out here. One of the things that
I'm telling you, this is a death that's on the hands of the union.
One of the problems about dealing with health. People's health and safety and security is one of the reasons that during the Bush administration, when we created the Department of Homeland Security, President Bush did not allow those workers who were on the front lines of fighting the war on terrorism to be able to unionize and to strike because of concerns for public health and safety.
Should that apply here?
I don't know. And yes, I agree with Bob that they have a right to unionize.
It applies with air traffic controllers, too, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
well, they were
people's lives are at stake.
Listen,
it should apply.
Let me just say this. There is no organization in American history that has contributed more to workplace safety than the labor unions of this country. Not one. You could even come close. They were the ones that cleaned up these terrible
This isn't a workplace safety issue.
But
of course it is.
No, it's
Bob,
not.
but if people are going to strike and do this, I mean, they have to put people who are properly qualified and trained because it's unacceptable that this woman died.
There were doctors who were not on strike. There were doctors who were not on strike. This case of cancer patient obviously had a doctor. There was an order to give it some medicine. And by the way, they don't work 24 hours a day.
You could argue this two ways. You could say this shows how valuable the striking nurses are. It could say how horrible the nurses are for striking. If there are two, if it's like it's meaningless. We don't know what happened there. I don't think you can blame the nurses. Well, and I think it's the toughest job in the world is being a nurse.
I don't disagree.
And if there's anybody that deserves to be paid as much as you can,
I totally
being a
agree.
nurse.
Nurses are incredible.
And I know that sounds
especially on oncology wards, cancer wards, and those. I mean, they do incredible things. I see people dying every day. But I'm just saying, if you're going to be in a situation like that, many of them are intensive care patients and that type of thing with needs that have to be attended to by someone who is properly qualified. That is the hospital's responsibility to replace
we need to move on.
We
need to move on to a topic that I know you all want to really talk about.
May I just clarify? I'm not saying nurses should be paid less. No one's saying that. Pay them more. Just the ability to right to strike is one thing. And collective bargaining should be
should pay union people more. There's a McKinsey survey out that says 1/3 of employers will drop insurance for their employees under, and I'm not going to use the word you used because it's called the Healthcare Reform Act. Now, let me make one point about,
it rhymes with Obamacare.
McKinsey. let me make one point about McKinsey. This is another consulting firm that's mission in life is to cover their ass on every report they put out.
Here we go.
These are the guys, the ones who predicted McKinsey after a great deal of study that there would be no housing crisis. Now, what McKinsey says matters nothing to me, but secondly, the fact is it may be better for some of these employees to get off of some of these employers. They got to get better care when they get into...
This is the real point.
They get into the exchange.
So first you say they're wrong, but then you say they're right.
No, I said... No, what I'm saying is, no, I don't think it's going to be a third. I think there's going to be 10 or 15%.
I think it'll be more.
And
I just finished reading Governor Mitch Daniels' book, and it was interesting to listen to him, who created a flexible program for state employees, but that they are looking at whether or not it would just be better off for them savings-wise. And I think that the real point of Obamacare at the outset was to just end employer-sponsored
Yeah.
health care. Maybe for good reason. I disagree, but maybe I'm not
Makes
questioning
people
the
more
intentions.
reliable on government.
Well, Bob,
No,
Howard
but
Dean, your buddy, agrees.
Yeah, I know, but
What
listen,
do you think about
listen, most employers have got to stop and think about this. They're competing for good workers, even though there's a lot of unemployment, but at the high levels, they're competing for good workers. And if you don't offer health care plans, you're going to lose to a competitor who does. So let's keep that in mind.
Not if everybody doesn't have them.
Well, no, but not everybody's going to up
Do you
and give away
understand
their...
what this means, though? If this study happens to be right, the impact, the financial impact is overwhelming.
No, it wouldn't be overwhelming. If we went along with my idea and have a single parent plan, we'd be all set.
Allow me. If this number is right, if it happens to be right, by the way, we have a lot of people we talk to who are going to do this. They're business owners who say, forget it, I'm going to take the $3,000 fine.
Because that's
but
the
do you know the number?
financially.
The number is like $5 trillion.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
Bob, the number is.
I don't know of a small businessman who doesn't say he's going to get rid of his insurance plan because there's Obama's, and it's all politics and it's all a bunch of.
Wait to see what happens.
Love you. Well,
gosh.
have
What
more
was
on the
that?
5 coming up. Well, come right back here, baby.
Oh.
It's going to be titillating.